Hi guys, this is Julie from the Scrap Zone. Welcome to another video collab with the creative design team. This time we're sharing tags, bags, and so much more. For my project, I decided to make Christmas tags using scraps and leftovers. So this is what you call an organized mess. On my desk here, I've got several stamp sets. I've been making cards for a few months now, and I'm gonna try and stay true to the product that are on my desk. So you see here that I've got a few. I decided to go ahead and pre-stamp all of my sentiment. Now this is a 5 by 8.5 piece, and I repeated the same sentiments using different colors. I'm going to use these thin cuts. Now if you don't have them, they measure approximately 3.5 by 4.5. So you can either hand cut them or use whatever you have on hand. Now this little bag of tricks are from my little gnomes that I did back in July. And these ones here, I just made them not that long ago. These are little tags that I did on another collab project, a whole bunch of snowflakes. So I decided to separate my scraps. So glitter paper, wood grain paper, all of that good stuff. So here I'm going to start organizing my tags, because that's the first thing you want to do. And you see I've got a whole bunch of colors. Some are pink, some are charcoal, I've got white, I've got craft paper. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm literally ripping pieces of paper apart and cutting them down and just laying them down on each of the tags. So I'm kind of doing a pre-sort. I'm sorting whatever piece of pattern paper I have on my craft table, and I'm just adding it to the tags that are in front of me here. And then I did go ahead and I die cut a few of these little tags. The ones with the dovetail I end up not using, but it's all part of the creative process. So I'm separating everything out. As you can see here, I've got tons of snowflakes, so I'm just putting them here and there randomly. And then I'm going to pull out these cute gnomes. You know, I always do doubles and triples, and this time it really paid off. So I'm going to kind of separate them across all of my tags. I've got these cute gnomes here. These ones I really enjoyed doing, so I colored a few extra ones, and I'm really glad I did. And then here are where those beautiful sentiments come into play. So you can see here that I'm just trying not to overthink it, and I'm just adding all of these beautiful elements together. So I know I want to use some gold shimmer. So if you ever bought one of these and you've got this little yellow thing, you're like, what's that? Just take it out. You don't need it. You screw that in, you tap it, and you get it ready to go. So I know I'm going to use gold shimmer definitely on these tags. Now I'm not going to show you the process for all of them, but I'm going to show you the rough idea of how all of these came together. The first one is the hardest one, but once you have a rhythm going, it's a lot of fun. So here I pulled out a sentiment from one of those stamps that were on my table, and I'm going to use it throughout the entire collection that I'm making. And I'm starting here with, of course, a tag, a piece of pattern paper. I've brought in a zip strip and my title, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to hang the title off of the tag, and it's just going to give me more real estate. So this is tag number 1. Tag number 2, again, use a tag, use pattern paper, and this pattern paper I didn't have as much of it, so I just started ripping it apart and just laying it down on my tag. I'm just layering it, starting from the top, going all the way down. I wanted to see the white core of the paper when I did all the ripping, so I did that towards me. So that way I got to see all of the beautiful layers and the white core of the pattern paper. So I'm just going to put these on. So basically the rhythm or the process is tag, pattern paper, sentiment, and here you see that I'm adding a little bit of detail. So this is another thin cut that I had on my table. So here I'm adding a little bit of a design flair, and you could stop right here. Like, this is a really pretty tag. If you don't have a whole bunch of snowflake or you don't have a bunch of gnomes, you could stop at any time, but I just went to town and I added everything I had on my desk. So here, this one is a lot of fun as well. So first thing is you start with your tag, you add a little bit of pattern paper, and I went on this thing where I decided I was going to rip pretty much all of the pieces of pattern paper because I was trying to go like more organic and just layer all of these pieces. So this one here, I really like the way it is, but just make sure you don't hide that hole because you need that, right? So I'm going to add this sentiment right in the center. I'm going to add a few little tags at the top and the little gnome. And there you have it, 3 tags done pretty quickly. So we're going to show you a couple more here just to show you that the pattern and the process is very repetitive. So this one here, I felt that it didn't have enough wow factor. So I took that same sentiment, I haven't changed it yet, and I just decided to stamp using the scarlet red on the craft paper. And then when I start layering my piece of cardstock or my piece of pattern paper, everything seems to work and flow really, really nicely. So you see here, I'm literally just ripping it into pieces until it fits my tag and I'm happy with it. I'm going to layer those pieces. I'm going to add a little bit of flair with that little piece of, it's from the Yuletide border. I'll make sure to list all of the products down below. And here I decided, okay, it's a brand new shimmer brush. It's gold. It's super pretty. I'm going to like doing that. So I repeated that process. So if you know that you want to do shimmer splatters on a few of your pieces, try and work like maybe 2 tags ahead so that it can dry, and then you just continue on with your process. So you can see that I'm kind of repeating the same thing over and over again, but I'm using different pieces. I'm using what I have on my table. So I'm using here hemp, and that's just from the dollar store, and this tag here is pretty much done. So these little guys, I like them as well because they're not as bold as the larger titles, but they still work beautifully. So I'm going to add a smaller title on this one. I'm going to add my little gnome, and I've done that same thing again where I've stamped using that same sentiment stamp. I'm stamping it in scarlet. I've added it to the top, and it just gives that nice element to that tag. Now these are the other colors that I had to play with. I probably wouldn't have thought of making these colors for tags, but you know what? They were leftovers and I decided why not? So big score in my scrapbooking stash. I've got black hemp. You can also use baker twine, whatever you have. Like literally when you make tags, you make them with whatever you have in your scrapbooking room. So that was like a good find for me that day. I did get lost in this process. You can see that I've made several tags. I think I ended up making about 17 or 18 tags, but it was just so much fun to see what came out of the scraps that I had on my table. So I was really happy with all of them, the way that they turned out. They're super cute, and I know that people are going to think, you made these with your scraps? They're probably not going to know. You guys are going to know, but nobody else needs to know that, right? So here you see me adding a few of those elements, like that circle piece was a cricket piece from another project that I had. I cut it in half, I put it on my tags, and it just adds a little bit of detail. And there you have it. Like these are done with the Jingle Joy collection, and I really like the way that they turned out. Here I'm adding a few bows to the top, and if you stick around till the end, I'll show you how I made all of those bows with a salad fork. So we're pretty much done this series right here. So by this time I've made a whole bunch of tags, and I want to give you a few lessons learned. So here you can see that I've really pared down on all of my scraps. I've actually kind of sorted them and put them in bags. But you can see that compared to what I had on my table at the beginning, I really don't have a lot left. And what's fun at the end is that you can actually look at your previous tags for inspiration and keep on going. So I'm going to make 2 more tags, and I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit more information and details on the process. So I did pull out this additional stamp set because I wanted something circular, and I did add a little bit of ink distressing, but let's kind of copy this tag. I did add a second tag at the back because my tag at the front was so loaded with the sentiment and the little gnome and all of that good stuff that I needed somewhere to write. So I pulled these little snowflake from the tag that I had on my desk, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use it at the back just to give it a little bit of something. Here I've gone ahead and I've done the shimmering with the gold, and let's start putting this tag together. So I also decided that I wanted to do a little bit of ink distressing in toffee, and I'm stamping those randomly at the back. It doesn't matter if you write over them. I think it's going to look really cute actually. So we're going to start putting the front together, and very much like this other tag, I'm kind of looking at it and I'm just kind of following along, and I'm repeating a lot of the same elements. I ran out of the Merry Christmas sentiment, but Just Believe works just as well. So I'm going to add to the tag the pattern paper, the sentiment, and then I'm going to pop that little gnome right on top. Now all of the little gnomes have been popped with 3D foam tape, and I'm adding these small little tags. At the beginning of the video, if you remember, I had larger ones. These ones here work best. Anyways, I felt that they worked best. This little guy is going to go right on with a little bit of 3D foam tape, and then I'm going to add, again, this is another tag that worked really nicely, and I've stayed true to the stamps. I brought it back in, I stamped it in scarlet, and I'm adding a little bit of distressing, and you can see how everything really matches together now. And these are from different collections, but they really do look great. So I'm going to pop that in back of his little hat, and this one is done. So this is the last one I'm going to show you, because really, like I said, I did 17 of these, so I don't think you want to see 17 tags, but I do want you to kind of appreciate the process that I went through in making them. So not everybody likes gnome. I don't know who doesn't, but not everybody likes gnome. So here you can see that I'm layering the pattern paper and the sentiment and the die cut pieces, and I'm just popping that right onto the tag. And again, you could stop right here. You don't have to add all of those layers. Here you see that I've used the back side and the front because I didn't stamp it correctly. So I'm going to add that little circle at the bottom, and then I'm going to add 2 little tags at the top. And this is done. So remember I told you I was going to show you how to make those bows with a salad fork? I'm sure you've seen this before, but it definitely is worth repeating. I've shown this a few times now. So you cut about a 10-inch piece of ribbon, you kind of pull it to the side, make sure that the back piece crosses over, you tuck it underneath in the middle, and then over, and then you tie a knot, and that is it. You just kind of pull that through, and you've got a perfect little bow every single time. So I thought I'd show you that again. So here are the completed tags. I really hope that I've inspired you to pull out some of your leftovers, or maybe you've got a few gnomes that you didn't think were quite done. Maybe they're worth finishing. Even if these tags look different, there's something familiar with all of them. They all have a tag, they all have ripped pattern paper, they all have a large sentiment or a long sentiment, and then they each have an embellishment. It's either a gnome, a snowflake, or whatever you have on your table, really. So I really enjoyed going through this process, and like I said before, these pink ones here, I probably wouldn't have made them. As you're putting away your Christmas stuff from all of the Christmas cards you've made, you might want to take a second glance at those scrap. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Don't forget to come back and see what Katy has in store for you tomorrow. Have yourself a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.